Fellow Rotarians, I am past President Rodolphe Milky, Chair of the Admin Committee of the Rotary Club Beirut Cedars. I would like to welcome you tonight and to welcome a very, very special speaker, Mr. Bonaventure Fandohan. And before presenting our guest, I would like to tell you a little bit more about our upcoming events. On May 21, there is an outing for the club, and it will be in Kfar where we'll be planting cedars, and it will be followed by a lunch. On May 25, we have a regular business meeting with Rotaractors Beirut Cedars, and we'll have a very special guest as well. His name is Patrick Khoury, and he will be talking about his walk for peace. Moreover, Patrick is a polyglot. He speaks 12 languages, so he will be able to answer all the questions in different languages. Okay, and of course, we have on June 11, we have an outing at Le Président Amchit. It will be with our fellow Rotarian that will be followed by a lunch at Le Cap. Okay, just before presenting our president who will talk about Rotary and especially our Rotary Club, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the following Rotary clubs for their collaboration and support. I would like to thank Lebanon Hammana Upper Matan Gate, Rotary Club of Tripoli, Tripoli Cosmopolis, Tyre Europa, Manama Bahrain, our friends from Bahrain, Sulmaniya Bahrain, my old club, Sif Bahrain, the Rotary Club of Poitiers, and last but not least, the Rotary Action Group Community Economic Development. Without further ado, President Roni, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rodolphe. Good evening, everyone. As Rotary members, we contribute our skills, expertise, and financial support to promote peace, fight disease, provide clean water, save mothers and children, support education, grow local economies, and protect the environment. Rotary's global grants support these efforts in communities worldwide. Before applying for a global grant, we need to plan a sustainable project and identify measurable outcomes. Then we can apply for a global grant and manage the grant funds. Building sustainable projects that have measurable and lasting outcomes and managing grant funds responsibly are requirements for all Rotary global grants. Not every Rotary project is eligible for a global grant funding from the Rotary Foundation. The project must meet some requirements. Global grants support international activities in Rotary's areas of focus. Humanitarian projects provide sustainable, measurable outcomes that address real community needs. Vocational training improves job skills in a community through educational programs. It also supports teams of professionals who travel abroad to gain knowledge and skills or build the capacity of the community they visit. Scholarship Fund, international graduate level study by people seeking a career in an area of focus. Application for scholars who will begin studies in August, September, or October are due by June 30. One can make sure his or her grant idea is eligible before writing an application by asking the regional grants officer to review it and offer recommendations. It will save time and effort. Lastly, I would like to mention that our club of Beirut Cedars in the last 5 years, since 2017, has entered into 15 global grants for a value of $3,850,000. Thank you very much for listening to this. Back to you, Rodolphe.
Thank you, President Roni. So before introducing our guests, I would like to attract your attention that after the presentation of Mr. Fandohan, you will have the opportunity to ask all your questions in the Q&A section that is at the bottom of your screen. So please feel free. You can start from now writing your questions, and Mr. Fandohan will be very happy to answer them at the end of his presentation. So I will introduce our speaker. Mr. Bonaventure Fandohan is a policy and program consultant with more than 20 years of experience overseeing inclusion and economic empowerment programs design, implementation, and evaluation. He has worked in partnership and stewarded the relationships with various stakeholders, including community-based organizations, governments, and corporates to support livelihoods opportunities for smallholder farmers, youth, and women in West Africa region. A strong leader with excellent negotiation and communication skills, Bonaventure excels at strategic thinking, creating impactful partnerships, and innovative and market-based problem solving. His skills include program policy design and implementation, impact evaluations, including inclusive economic empowered assessments, large survey design and implementation, including in fragile and unstable environments in Mali, Niger, DRC, Chad, etc. Mr. Bonaventure holds a master's in international development policy from Duke University, an MBA from Northwestern University, and an undergraduate degree from Purdue University. He speaks French and English. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Bonaventure Fandohan. Mr. Fandohan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Yeah, don't take your time. Sometimes it is working on slow motion. Yes, I think it is slideshow.
Yeah, I just push it, but
yeah, maybe you have to. It's a slideshow. You have one window open here. Yes, maybe you have to close it. This one on the top, on the left side.
This one?
No, this one where you have.
This one?
No. If you go where it is written, yes. Let's start again, please. Your PowerPoint, yes. And then slideshow.
Yep.
Yes, perfect. Perfect.
Good night, good evening, and good
evening.
morning, wherever you are. Thank you, Rodolphe. Thank you, Ron. That's a pleasure to be here. My name is Bonaventure Fandohan, and I'm the Area Focus Manager for Community Economic Development. I have this position since 2015, 7 years now. And I was born and raised in Benin. I never thought that I would be at this position today, but it's a pleasure to be invited. Thank you, Ron. And let's start it with this one. I want to show you this. It came from Oxfam, a UK NGO. And Oxfam is saying that 250 million of people around the world could be pushed to extreme poverty this year. And I was talking earlier with Ron, and Ron told me the same thing by saying it becomes more difficult for people to get access to food in those days. And the reason is the surge in global food price after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the ongoing impact of COVID-19, and the rising global inequality, without forgetting the pattern from the climate change. All of that call us as Rotary members. All of that bring us to a question: how can I help those who are in need? How economically I can use my time, the resources I know or I am aware of, and use my skill to be able to help those who are in the need. It can be my neighbor, it can be somebody living far from me, but the idea is, how do we help those who are in need at this time? The foundation has the answer for you. The foundation has put together a portfolio called Community Economic Development. And around that portfolio, you have a couple goals. And if you can use those goals. If you want to build capacity to spur economic growth, train entrepreneurs, help women who are in the need. If you want those things, you can come to the foundation and ask for money. You can ask for skill. You can ask for advice. If you have women who are widows and who are head of household and they need help not only skill, but they also need some assets. For example, they need some goat, some pig to raise in their own compound, and they need some help, come to the foundation. The foundation has answer for you. We have those goals, and as long as your activity of your project are aligned with those goals, you will have funding, you will have skill, you will have any kind of advice you want. The question is, how can you proceed? What are the process that will help you to go through that request of funding? The first question is, what are the problem you're trying to solve? Is that a problem of job? Is that a problem of productivity? Farmers producing yams or cocoa or whatever, but they don't have, the productivity is still low. So you have to be clear about what you're trying to solve as an issue. But to do that, you have to present the actual situation. You have to talk about the current situation, what's happening in the community. You have to highlight to somebody listening or reading your document that you know the community you're talking about. You understand what they go through every day. You know who are most affected by the situation. And you also have a discussion with them. You know the real problem they face, and how you do that is to see, okay, you validate the identification of that problem. Have you talked to them? Have you talked to them in a group or individually? Have you had that conversation with the beneficiaries, the potential beneficiaries? What did they say about their own life? Do they understand what's happening to them? Those are critical questions to ask. And also, you can try to find some existing data about the community. Can I go to the local authority and find some data about who are the most affected? If I don't have those data, is it possible for me to collect some new data? Okay, the data I'm collecting, are they related to the market? Are they real? Because if you want to solve a job problem, you want to talk to the professional in that job market. You want to talk to the plumbers. You want to talk to the masons. If the mason you want them, the beneficiary to be the mason. If you want women to go to tailoring school, you want to talk to the tailors and tell them, where are the jobs? What kind of skill do they need? How the skill the market need, I can fit into that. Those are critical questions. And you may be lucky and have some other organization already in the market in that project. They are working on those projects. You can have international NGOs, you can have local NGOs already working on that project. What kind of problem they are addressing right now? Which part of problem are not being addressed by them? And how do you think that priority or that need can be fulfilled by this project? What do you bring as a competitive advantage as a Rotarian? And another critical question is, have you talked to the beneficiaries? You say yes. What do they expect from this project? What do they say they want the project to be for them, and why? Because if you don't have answer to those questions, you may have a good project on paper, well answered, with the question well answered, but at the end of the day, you may not have the beneficiaries. So in that community, is it something that can be a plus for this project? Is it the weather? Is it a technical knowledge? Because you can have like Rotarians who already know the community, who work with them on individual basis, who can become an asset. And then as an asset, he brings skill, the local knowledge, and he brings also some network. What are those assets that you can use? Is that the weather, the economic asset, or other organization bringing other skill? You need to know all of that. Those are critical because if you know them, it helps you to design your project. And mostly it helps you to bring the community on board, which brings me to the project leadership, the stakeholder. Who owns the project? Is that you, the Rotarian, the beneficiaries, the local authority, the host club, or people in the community? At the end of the day, who will say that our project? Who will say that our project? Is that the Rotarian or somebody leaving the international sponsor? That question is very critical and it goes along the way. When you can answer that, it goes with the monitoring side. How the community will be involved to monitor this project. For example, we have a project in Brazil where the project is designed, but every 3 months, they have a small committee. And that committee has a Rotarian, a local Rotarian, international Rotarian, but people from the communities. And they come together every 3 months to discuss the project. They discuss what is going well, what is not going well, how they can make change to the project, and they convey their concern, their comment to the international sponsor. And the international sponsor talk to the program manager or the project manager and tell him, listen, you are doing well, but we need to talk to this person and tell this person because those persons are very important and they are not helping. And because they are not helping, we are not moving the way it should be. That's the way to involve the beneficiary in that project. You can even have some stakeholder against the project. For example, you want to do, a small tomatoes farming in a rural area and you want to bring irrigation in that community. But that community already have some farmers and they are there. They have been there for a long time. Have you talked to them? Will they be against that project? Can they tell you why they are against that? Is it a possibility for you to mitigate any kind of concern or risk you may foresee talking to them? Those are critical points and critical elements to have. And when you have all of those elements, it's like cooking in the kitchen. The more information you have, the better you become. The more information, the more resources you have, the better you become. So let's talk now about the project component. Are you sure what you design as activity for this project will solve the problem? Yes or no? If yes, is those activity aligned with community economic development? Yes, yes or no? If it's because you need to have a guideline, for example, the community economic development project guideline. It will tell you by reading the guideline, if it's a vocational training, we want to see more about the job market. We want to talk to somebody who a professional in the community. We want to see if the person have the right skill. We want to, vocational training have a guideline. Agricultural projects increase productivity. You go to the guideline, you will see how the activity should be aligned, with the guideline designed by the foundation. But ultimately, the end goal of your project is to solve a problem. Do we know if those activities will be solving the problem? I give you an example. I received some project where they say 40% of the youth in my community, they want job and they don't have a skill. And what I'm trying to do is to give them this training so they can get access to the job market. But most of the time, they don't have time to talk to the professional or the Rotarian who have experience with this type of job. They don't even go to the job market to look for what kind of job that people need in the job market. But they say, okay, whatever we give them this training, we are sure is okay. That's good. For project is approved and you have the money, you do the training. But at the end of the day, do people have access to job? Yes or no? If they have access to job, at least they have internship. Yes or no? If they have internship, that increase their income. Those are so critical points to think about. And beside that, your project, does it have a capacity development, a training? Because even a vocational training, agricultural project, or micro loan project, whatever project you have is a human-centered project. If people are well trained, they will do well. They will lead the project. Every project will impact the beneficiaries. But as long as they are not trained, it will be difficult for them because they don't know. You don't know. If you don't know something, you cannot make change to it. Are those training related to the local economy? Are those training related to the community assessment? The problem you have identified in the earlier. Okay, after that, did you buy most of item locally? Because when you buy stuff locally, you raise the local economy and you create an environment for those who are coming to the market for a job or for any other aspect to get to have money in the market so they can increase their income. So how do you grow the local economy? By buying locally. And that also has another part. Buy item locally is important because if you buy some item, some equipment from very far, and you don't have the spare part of those equipment, people know they may have equipment, but after 2 years or 3 months, they will not be able to fix them at local level. Do you have any local funding? And I'm asking that because the more funding you have locally, the better it is for you. If the host Rotarian give you, for example, some money, they will be more involved because they feel like it's important for them. If you bring more money from locally, people will oversee the project from different angles. And that makes the project more sustainable and help everybody to move forward. So talking about the component of the project, one important aspect, and President Ron just talked to me about that earlier, is the project monitoring evaluation system. Do we have some key measurement, indicators that we want to measure? We want to make sure we follow through. Did we gather information or data before the project starts? Because we talk about poverty and we say those women, those youth are very poor. Do we know how much they make on a monthly basis? $25, $10, $15? That helps us to know after a year or 2 years if we have impacted them, if they have increased their income. So they call that baseline. It's important to know where they are at the spectrum of the poverty. That is very important. And after you do that, do you have clear and measurable output and outcome in your project plan? How do you plan to measure them? As a Rotarian, if you don't have a skill, do your cooperative organization, the organization you are working with, do they have a skill? Or are you gonna bring somebody from outside to collect the data for you? Those are critical questions to answer. And that is important because you should be able to justify your resources, your time. You should be able to justify by saying, our club supporting this project have improved people's livelihood in this community for the last 2 years. That's make Rotary International a big organization. That raise the profile of your club, and that raise the profile of a Rotary Foundation. I will give you a quick summary of what I just discussed earlier. It's about sustainability of that project. Is because when you make that project, you don't want to do it in 1 year, and when you disappear, the project disappear. No, you don't want to do that. You want the project to continue. You want people to continue to benefit from that project. But it means you have taken the most important step that will help you to do so. And the first aspect of it is community assessment. Have you done the community assessment very well? I explained earlier very good how it should be. If you have done it well, during your discussion, have you engaged the beneficiaries, the stakeholder locally? Yes. Do they feel like they are empowered to own that project? They have the ownership of that project? Yes. If you say yes, that's positive. Did you provide training, leadership training, any kind of training that will help that project to move forward? That's great. Have you found local funding? Yes, that's good. Have you bought most of your item locally just to raise the local economy, at the same time make sure the spare part exists for the project? Those are critical questions to ask, and if you can check those points, you are on the right path to get funding. But get funding is not the most important here. It's to sustain the project. It's to make sure that your time and effort is more than a year that the project should be. I'll give you an example. you support a group of youth, and because you support a group of youth to get a training, you went to see a training center. And the training center say, oh, you know, we really need this because we don't have this and that, and you help them. But at the same time, you focus on the beneficiaries, the training. And after you leave, are you sure that the equipment that you donate, for example, to the training center will be working, they will be maintained, or they will be replaced? Those are critical questions, because you have one cohort of beneficiaries, but you have more cohort coming up. And you want to make sure that those cohort benefit as well as those who went to the first cohort. So make sure that you have what the system put in place to get the beneficiary coming in and get the service needed. So sustainability for community economic development is important. And I'll give you some example of projects that have worked well with Rotary Foundation. And if you want more information, I will continue. This project is a project in West Nepal. And the Rotary Club of Patan with a youth foundation in Nepal, they have a serious issue. The serious issue is they have a lot of young women who are in a very bad situation, so they usually leave the house and they don't know where to do, they don't know where to stay, and it becomes very difficult. They don't have job and all of that. So the club talked to the Nepal Youth Foundation and told them, listen, how can we help those women to find job, to be able to be on the, we want to empower them. That's our goal. So the Nepal Youth Foundation and the club, they went to the job market and look for where the skills are needed. They talk to the professional, they talk to the farmers, they talk to everybody and say, listen, tell me if somebody want to get a job, what kind of skill you guys really need it right now in the job market. And people talk to them from, they say, okay, pig farming, we need people to help us with pig farming. I'm a farmer, but I need people to help me with my vegetable, production. And people say, oh, we want people who can do mobile repairing and house wiring, electricity. Okay. And they ask the cooperative organization to design a training for those women. And they want the training to be 3 months with a possibility for those women to come back and forth if they need to have more, understanding or exchange about that training. So after they do that, the women went to the training. But after the training, they set up a small committee. Rotarians were part of that committee, and the foundation also has some members. The mayor office sent some people, and that committee, their role was to find job to those women. Their role were to make sure that those women can have internship. After 1 year, the project realized that 97% of those girls who completed the training have employment. They only have not only employment, but they were able to start increase their income. So the Club of Patan were happy to empower those women so they can change their own life. That's one example that have worked in the past that can inspire you if you are looking for something, to look for. Another one is this grant. This is a group of grants in Honduras. It's a club, in Honduras, finding some women going to the dumpsters and look for, some object they can sell in the market and all of that. And they say, how can we help those women to be able to find job or to be able to become entrepreneurs? They talked to the other Rotarians, they went to the market, and they did the same thing exactly like the club of Patan. And they start training those women, and after the training, they find them some job. But at the same time, what they did different from the past grant is they put the women in a small network. So women, they talk to each other, they learn from each other. When some of them became entrepreneurs and they share their experience between themselves, and they did 7 grants. I approved 7 of them. Every year they do the grant. Every year with different cohorts. Every year they do the grant. They have done it so well, and we have some people calling us, telling us about the project. So every year it becomes easier for me to approve because I hear from people from the field, people telling me that, oh, women are doing very good. Most of the women, close to 1,000 women who went to this program, double their income. Most of them, after 1 year or 2 years, they double their income. But they have a chance to collect the data of those women income at the beginning. They know that how many pesos do you make right now? Oh, 10 pesos, 20 pesos. And at the end of the day, so they make, Rotary a big deal in the front of those women in their own community. People start looking at them differently. I want to finish with the last project. This project was one of the first projects I approved when I came at Rotary Foundation. It was a project that came from Brazil. And the first thing is, oh, we have this cooperative, and they want to scale up their activities. They want to be able to protect environment, create job, but they also want to be able to bring the student in that community to come to see what they are doing. So the first question I asked them, are you registered as a cooperative? And they say no. Is it possible for you to register during this process? And they say, yes, we can register the mayor office. The Rotarian know the mayor office. We can talk to them. We will be able to register as soon as possible. Do you have a spot? Do you have somewhere, a place that the cooperative can go and work? Yes, we have a spot. We can ask the mayor office a bigger spot. And what do you need right now? We need bigger equipment to do the recycling. And we also need other aspects, around $80,000, $84,000, if I remember very well, project. The project was approved. 2 years later, we received an email saying that this project has created 20 jobs, and they are processing a lot of dust, a lot of waste on a regular basis. But the most important aspect is every Wednesday, they receive students coming from everywhere of the community, watching, seeing what they are doing, and trying to understand why it's important to recycle. That's how a project trying to create a job can be important for our environment and also important to the future generation. That's all I have for you. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fandohan, for this very educational, interesting, and valuable presentation. And thank you also for the example you gave of successful projects. And this is very important. And I hope that soon you will receive some projects from Lebanon. And
I wish that would be great.
From Lebanon, from Bahrain, from these countries in our district, and even from France.
That would be fantastic.
Just to say to our the Rotarians that the presentation of Mr. Fandohan will be sent to you, of course. So this will be useful for future projects. So as a guideline. And I wanted to see with you, Mr. Fandohan. And now the floor is open for the Q&A session. So please feel free to write your questions in the Q&A session. If I may, Mr. Fandohan, I will ask my first question. What are the critical elements that can make the community economic development project eligible?
Based on my experience working for Rotary Foundation, most of the Rotarian, they have good projects, but they don't have time to go to the community and talk to people in the community. The first aspect of the project is, have you talked to the community members? Do we know if the beneficiaries are on board? Selected, have you selected them? Yes or no? It's okay if you have not selected them. Do you know if there should be any kind of capacity development? Because it's about, our project are very small project. It's about human. So do we have any training? Most of the Rotarian, they're trying to skip training. They think it takes time and all of that, but they forget it's about human. If you train them, if you make sure they know what to do, they will do well. Train them, give them the skill they need. And the third most critical element, and very important, is the key performance indicators. How do you want to measure your effort, your progress around the way? Because you want to know you are doing well, right? Yes, you want to raise the profile. We are publishing the grant from Nepal, from Brazil, from Honduras. You want people to know about your club. Did you put a system to measure those progress? Those are the critical points. You know, if you can do that, you will do well.
Thank you for your answer. I have a question from Mark Harbison. The question on M&E. Global Grant final report 12 months after completion. What happens to M&E data monitoring after closing grant? Any data transmission to UN SDG monitoring, Institute for Economics and Peace, yani Rotary partners?
Thank you so much. I think this is one of the gaps we have right now in our system. We are not utilizing the way it should be the data collection from the project. But we are working on this as a foundation. We are really on it right now. The idea is, as I highlighted a couple of minutes ago, some grant from the past, we should be able to create a system where the data will be incorporated in our system and share worldwide. Rotarians who want to do global grant, we know, here's what is happening here. Here's the lesson learned. Bad one, good one, why that's important for Rotarian to know. And we will incorporate not only in our global grant system, but also share with our partner, like somebody just said, share with our partner, IAEP, USAID, and other partners who are working with us. We are working on it because it's critical to measure our impact as an organization. And we are not there yet. What's happening right now, when the data comes, we look at them, we if it has some question, it raised some questions, some concern, we talk to the sponsor and make sure that the project continue. But we don't have a system set up to learn from those data, to have a knowledge sharing system. We don't have it yet, but we are working on it and we will get there.
Thank you. I will go to my next question from Jean Ndimubandi. And he's saying a project interact with both its internal and external environment. The external environment refers to those variables that are beyond the control of the organization and that are likely to influence the smooth running of the project. How can the sustainability of a project be achieved when there is poor governance within the community?
That's a very good question. That's the external shock. Like people, you develop a project, you are sure that it's working well, right? But something happened outside of that zone. For example, the situation in Ukraine. The fuel price rise, the wheat price rise, and everything change, right? It's difficult to find system against that. But if you are able to talk to the communities, you will be able to set up some shield, some system to shield the project. If the system is, you have a leadership, local leadership working well, ready to navigate the risk and ready to understand and anticipate the risk coming from outside. That's why training is important. Leadership training, project management training, any training that you bring to the project team or the beneficiaries that will help them navigate, mitigate the external shock. That's great. Another aspect is buy locally, for example. We know that the situation can be out of your hand, but if there is a local economy that work well, people may be better off even with a very difficult environment outside. But after all, the external shock can be strong. The government may not be functioning and all of that, but that's why we have a host Rotarian. The host Rotarian, they may know somebody in the government. They may look at the situation. They may discuss that at the club meeting and see what work well and how they can anticipate, mitigate the risk associated with that external shock. External shock is something beyond our means, but as a Rotarian, trying to make sure we have a sustainable project, we have to take some steps to make sure that we shield the project against those external shocks. Thank you.
We have two more questions. The question is now from Past President Hagab Dantigian. Very interesting question. How can we involve Rotaractors into global grants?
I think it's an ongoing discussion, and I love that discussion because I have a personal experience working with a lot of clubs, and Rotaractors, they can make a big difference. My personal experience with Guinea-Conakry, and some of you may know some club in Guinea. The club in Guinea-Conakry, Doyen, they have never done a global grant. The first global grant, they have done it because a Rotaractor who just left the Rotaractor stage and become a Rotarian, he became president of the club. And he pushed for it because as a Rotaractors, they are young, they don't have the experience, but they are driven. They want the result. They want stuff to be done. As a club, Doyen, or a club in our area, it's our duty to have the conversation locally and see if we can involve them, even at the very small discussion. have a Rotarian who have done some global grant in the past. I'll give you an example. For President Ron, you guys have done a lot of grants. Have somebody, President Ron, talk to some Rotaractor clubs, tell them what they have done, how they can be involved. Look at what they bring as a skill and what they can learn from you. I think is a very critical, we are at a very critical point as an organization involving Rotaractors in our global grant. I think that transition is critical and all of us should work hard to make sure that it's a successful transition. The club will benefit from it, the clubs that we all benefit from it, the district will benefit from it, Rotary International will benefit from it, and the Rotary Foundation will benefit from it.
Our last question from Rotarian Khalid Bouhsali. And he's saying, is it possible to make Rotary projects sustainable in a way that Rotary clubs do equity financing under the name of the foundation and benefit from the exit to finance other projects?
That is a little bit complex. I'm trying to not approach that question. I'm approaching is a question that we should ask to the trustees, and that is not at my level. It's a very high level question that I know some Rotarian who really want that. They really, really want that. And it makes sense in some ways, but it also has some issue, because when you start going to the conflict of interest and equity financing and all of that, it's a little bit complicated. And some Rotarian from our first interlocutor, which is a Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development, have pushed for it. It's possible. But the idea is, how do we make sure that we have funding, using some kind of mixed equity to do it. I think those who believe so is a very success in that question should continue to push. But there is some conflict of interest, some complexity that the foundation and Rotary International has to navigate. And that may come back with a lot of more issues than we anticipate. I'm trying to understand the concern, but it's a question that we should raise to the trustees to the high level. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fandohan. Of course, you have answered all the questions. Thank you once again for everything, for your presentation and valuable information you gave us. And now I will pass, the floor is to President Roni, who would like to present you a certificate of appreciation in the name of our club.
Bonaventure,
thank you, President.
Bonaventure, thank you very much. This is an eye-opening for a lot of people. And now you're asking me to take over and do the presentations to all the Rotaract Club. Actually, the question came because we have a Rotaract Club in our club. We founded a new Rotaract Club, and it's the year where Rotaractors can do global grants. And this is why we asked you this question. Thank you very much again. It gives me great pleasure to send you this certificate of appreciation. We will mail it to your address. Thank you again for being with us tonight, and I'm sure everybody profited a lot from what you said.
Thank you so much, President Ron. Thank you, Rodolphe. Thank you, everybody who are here, who want to. I'm open. You guys have my email. If you have any question about your global grant, if anything you think I can do to support your effort, to support your project, don't hesitate. Send me the email. Share with me your ideas. I will be able to answer you. I will be able to tell you if it's the right path for eligible global grant. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fandohan, for everything. I will talk now about our upcoming event. It will be on May 25. It will be at the Smallville Hotel, and we will be receiving Mr. Patrick Khoury, who will be talking about his work for peace. Very interesting topic. With this, our meeting comes to an end. I would like to thank you once for all, Mr. Fandohan. Thank you once again, and looking forward to seeing you all very soon.